My name is Mr. Heyer. I'm one of the accounting, business and economics teachers here. This is the accounting taster session, if you will. So I'm going to go straight into that and try and share my screen. And let's start from here. So this is the accounting virtual open event. Generally speaking, why should anybody do business, economics, or finance at WQE? We have a range of teachers who are subject experts and experienced examiners. They've worked with exam boards, so they know exactly what the exam boards need from us to get the maximum marks. At the same time, we are one of the largest departments in the country, and for economics and accounting, that has been the case for several years. We have something called subject support, at least roughly 20 lessons a week, where outside of regular lesson time, you can pop in and get support and help from teachers and second year accounting students who are experienced and doing well in their subject and know what they're doing. You can get help with exam technique and answering questions that you don't really understand. And that's a scheduled weekly timetable thing that's of great use and help. Also, generally speaking, teachers are approachable. You also have progress coaches who are there as a personal coach to help you get the most out of your learning. If you have any questions, you can always go through them. We generally get great results. Last year, the pass mark for accounting A-level was 98%, and that's in line with previous years as well. We have excellent online resources. So WQE Online, we have all of our booklets for all the modules for accounting are there online, so you can access them from anywhere. And therefore, you don't really need to get or buy any textbooks for accountancy. And we have a great number of PowerPoints and narrated PowerPoints there as well as questions and mark schemes too. We have trips. So the best, or I suppose the most looked forward to trip is the New York trip, where we take students from finance, economics, and business, including arts, to look at Wall Street and to go into businesses there. And that's something that people really value here. Why accounting in particular? Well, at the end of the day, every organization has to work with their bottom line, which is the profit. And if they're not profitable, they go out of business. So every business more or less has a finance department or a financial advisor to some extent. And therefore, being an accountant within a business such as that it puts you in a strong, respectable position, and a very valued position. There's obviously a career path that follows from A-level accounting. Should you choose to follow this into a degree or not, you can go into accountancy should you choose to do that. Generally speaking, accountancy is not so much like maths. We don't do anything like trigonometry or geometry, but it very much is problem solving and logical problems, essentially using numbers. Is more akin to problem solving. There will be roughly 250 other students studying the same course as you at any one time. So you'll come across a lot of people in your class and outside who you could talk to and work with and alongside. So you'll have a lot of company with other students. 98% pass rate, as mentioned before. Many of our students, a high percentage, go on to study accounting and finance at university or degree level. And so it's something that they enjoy while they're here. They want to carry on with that. Many students also, in a growing number, choose to study apprenticeships with big firms like KPMG and international firms like Price Waterhouse. Generally, what do you need? You need a 5 in English language and a 4 in maths, because like I said, it's not heavy on the maths, although you work with numbers. However, there is a requirement to do long English written answers within your 2 exam papers. So you do need to have an in-depth understanding of accountancy and not just do the numbers, but be able to explain yourself in sort of essay type format. You should enjoy problem solving, because that's pretty much what it's like. And unlike subjects like chemistry or biology, there's no prior knowledge required. We start from the beginning. There will be long written questions, and the exams are 3 hours, and there's 2 of them in any normal year. This is a typical workshop timetable. As mentioned before, there you have across the top 5 weekdays and 6 potential lessons in the week. And you can see all of those slots where there's somebody's name or a subject. That is the person who's going to be in your subject support and for what subject they're there for. And many times it will be a teacher, many times it will be a second-year accounting student who's there to support you and help you with any particular questions. Like I said, this is supposed to be a taster as opposed to an introduction. So I'm going to actually give you a little bit of introduction into what is accountancy. So this will sort of be similar to what you might do in some lessons, although this will normally take a week, and we're going to do this in the space of a few minutes. So I'm going to really try and summarize things for you, but it's just really to give you a taster of what some lessons might be like. Okay, so I'm going to really get into something that's fundamental to accounting, which is double entry. You might have heard about this, but I'm going to sort of try and show you a little bit and then ask you a few questions if we then have time. Okay, now hopefully if you see on screen, you see 4 what we call T accounts. And there's one for assets, one for liabilities, one for income, one for expenses. At the top, it tells you that the debit side means the left side of these, and the credit side refers to the right side. So you can see the arrows either on the left or the right, or the debit or the credit. Okay, so every single one of these has a debit on the left, as you can, I'm sort of running my cursor over, and then it also has a credit side, which is the right. Okay, now assets are anything that a business owns and has a particular value. Like if you have office equipment such as photocopiers, that has a value, it's an asset, it's something that the business can hold and use later on. Vehicles, equipment, and machinery are other things that a business can own, and these are all assets. And then you have liabilities, anything you owe to somebody else, such as if you take out a loan or you have a bank overdraft, that is a liability, or you have a mortgage, you owe money to somebody else. So a liability will work like this. So in other words, when a liability increases, the figures will go on this side, on the right side or the credit side. When a liability decreases, the figures or the numbers will go on the left side. When an asset increases, the numbers go on the left side or the debit side. When an asset decreases, the numbers will go on the credit side or the right side. Then you also have incomes. Incomes are any transactions that essentially bring value into your business. So things like sales, when you make a sale in a business, that is something that we want because it brings value to your business. So incomes or sales are incomes, and incomes work like this T account that you can see here. In other words, when incomes increase, then the numbers go on the right. When the incomes decrease, the numbers go on the left. And lastly, expenses are any items that take value away from your business, like when you pay rent, when you pay for your electricity bills, your fuel bills, phone bill, or you pay interest and so on. They're expenses, and expenses work like this T account here. Expenses, when they increase, the numbers will go on the left of that account, and when they decrease, the numbers will go on the right or the credit side. And generally speaking, any transaction that happens has 2 sides. So in other words, if we take out a loan, 2 things happen essentially. We'll get more cash because we've received the loan from the bank. And the second thing is we'll owe money to the bank. So what's essentially happening is our cash, which is an asset, and it says here, cash is an asset, increases. So we'll put the number on the increase side for the asset. And another thing's happening when we take out a loan is that we'll owe more money to the bank. So a loan is a liability, and liabilities work like this. So in that case, we'll put, as our liability or loan is increasing, we'll put the number, however much that loan is, on this side of the liability account. Okay, so this is a quick run through, and I don't expect you to understand all of this in one go, but we would normally spend about a week on this sort of learning. I'm just quickly going to go through a couple of transactions with you. Cash sales, and if we buy a truck, this is what I'm going to sort of go through. There's a 4-step process. If you follow it to the T, then you can't really go wrong. Step 1, you have to ask yourself these questions. What is affected in this transaction? Which accounts will be affected? Like in the last example, cash will be affected, and loans would be affected. What type of account is it? Well, cash is an asset, loans are a liability. What is happening to these accounts? Are they increasing or decreasing? If we take a loan out, our cash, which is an asset, is increasing. Our loan, which is a liability, is also increasing. We owe more money to the bank because we've borrowed money from the bank. And then therefore, lastly, you can choose which side of the accounts the figures will go on: debit, which is left, or credit, which is right. So that's the step-by-step process that we'd follow in order to do double entry correctly. So I'm going to quickly just go through one example for you. We've got here cash sales. If we made a cash sale of £20, step one, first thing is what is affected in this transaction. If I sell something to my customers and it's for cash, well, two things will be different. I'll have more cash and I'll have made more sales. Question two, what type of account are these? Cash is an asset, sales is an income, as we saw before. And again, I don't expect you to 100% get this all in one go, but what hopefully you can tell is that there are step-by-step processes. If you follow them, then you can pretty much 100% of the time work out the answer correctly. Number three, what is happening to these accounts? So these are key questions that we need to ask. So cash asset, in this case, if we make cash sales of £20, cash asset will increase and sales income will also increase. And so if you have a look at asset accounts down here, step four, which side of each account will the number go on? Asset accounts, when they increase, the number will go on the left, or the debit. Income accounts, when they increase, the number will go on the right side, or the credit. And so at the end of the day, the answer will look like this. So when you have cash sales of 20, the figures will go on, the 20 will go on the debit side of asset, which is cash, and on the credit side, or the right side, of sales, which is an income account. Let's do one more. If we buy a truck, what will be the double entry for that? Again, you follow the same step-by-step process. We'd go through this in class. Number two, so let's buy a truck. What happens, or what? Number one, what is affected in this transaction? Firstly, amount of cash I have will be affected. The amount of trucks I have will be affected. What type of accounts are these? Cash is an asset account. Trucks are also an asset account. What is happening to these accounts? Well, cash, if I buy a truck, my cash asset will decrease. If I buy trucks, then my trucks asset will increase. And then we know from before that assets behave like this. And when they increase, the number will go on the left, or the debit. When they decrease, the number will go on the right. So therefore, which side of each account is affected, or where did the number go? On the cash account, because cash is decreasing, the 6,000 will go on the credit, or the right side. And the trucks account, which is also an asset, and the truck's asset is increasing, and assets increase on the left, the number will go on the left side, or the debit side. Okay, so that's a quick run through of a couple of examples of how we do this, and the answer in that case to that double entry would look like that. The cash account, we're going to put the 6,000 on the right, or the credit, and on the trucks account, we'd put the 6,000 on the left, or the debit. This is the answer to that double entry. But if you've already got, if this is your first transaction, then that's what would happen. If you've got transactions that have happened before in the business, then those numbers will go on the same side, and the answer might look something like that, for example. But you can see in red where those figures go. Okay, so at this point, I think we may be running out of time. I just wanted to know if anybody had any questions. I think you've got a box where you can put question answers. Okay, I've got one answer there, one question there. And at the moment, only AQA does accounting A level. So the exam board is AQA for this. And if you'd like to ask any questions, please put it into the question and answer, and I'll respond to you in there. How many lessons a week will there be? On a normal timetable, there's 4 lessons for each subject, for each A level. You'd like to change accounting to economics. That's something that at this point I think you can do on enrollment. Right, so you can do that in enrollment after you actually receive your results and you come in to actually enroll in August. You can deal with that at that point if you wish. Okay. So again, if there's any further questions, I'm happy to go through anything that you'd like to talk about. Is there any work experience? Well, you can do work experience while you're at WQE, particularly with the A-level accounting course. It's not like a set work experience that we'll do during this time. That's something that perhaps is another opportunity. Is if you were to pursue a degree in this, you would have potential to do like a sandwich course where in the third year you would work for a year for an accounting firm. But we wouldn't have time on our timetable to arrange that, but you're certainly welcome to arrange your own if you wish, finance experience or accounting experience with a firm, perhaps in Leicester. How many lessons a week? You'll have 4 lessons a week on a normal timetable. The A-level accounting is an established A-level for some time, and it certainly has been more recognized in the last 20 years. So I would say it's slightly more recognized, and it's been around for longer. Certainly if you're applying for university. What is the best A-level to do alongside accounting? Really, the best A-level to do alongside accounting depends on the career path you wish to do or follow. So if, for example, you're looking to keep your options open, we would probably suggest, if you're doing accounting, to do something perhaps slightly different. So you have a wider range of skills and experiences to take forward and to follow up on. If you're quite focused on the world of finance and economics, and to go into something like investment banking, then accounting goes well with maths, it goes well with economics, it can go fairly well with business studies, for example. But it's really open, and you don't have to combine it in that way. You can pretty much do any subjects depending on if you want to be focused on finance in the future, or you're not sure and you want to keep your options open. We have there's companies that have sort of hired students from here, and once they get good accounting students, then they would tend to sort of view those same students from the same college in a similar sort of way, that they trust our students know what they're talking about when they apply for their courses. But we wouldn't necessarily be able to point you in one direction. We might say these are good accounting companies that you can apply to, and certainly we'll be happy to give references for you if you wish to apply to them. Would you suggest going to university or doing an apprenticeship for accounting? Okay, that's a great question. Basically, to qualify as a professional accountant, I used to be an accountant before I was a teacher, and to qualify, you don't need to do a degree in accountancy. A-levels are certainly very useful. I would suggest that you definitely, in that case, would do A-levels. Then you have a choice, going to university or doing an apprenticeship in accountancy. If you know you want to be an accountant pretty much 100%, you can go straight into an apprenticeship, get a job, be working, earning money, and doing your professional exams and qualifying within a few years. If you're not entirely sure yet, or you just want a few years of uni life, then certainly going to university and doing a degree in either accountancy or something else is a viable option. But if you're 100% more or less on accounting, then one question is, why go university when you can pretty much be a qualified accountant in 3 years after your A-levels and not have that debt? So it depends on what you want and how sure you are that accounting is your future career path. How complex is the maths in this subject? The maths in this subject itself is not complex. It's understanding what needs to be done and understanding the accounting theory. That's the crucial bit. Maths, essentially, we're adding and dividing and minusing numbers. So in that sense, the maths itself is not very complicated at all. How can we get accounting jobs without having it? How can you get accounting jobs? Well, for example, when I was working in accountancy myself, the firm was hiring students from chemistry degrees and other subject areas. What mattered more was the grade they've got, not so much what subject they've done. Because when you do an apprenticeship or you get a job, they're going to train you up anyway. So they really want you to be a good student as opposed to have done accounting before. Although it doesn't hurt to have done accounting before because it sets you up nicely. Yeah, I don't think if you're not the strongest at maths, accounting is still fine as long as you got a 4 in GCSE maths. Is of course a good baseline for people wanting to go into forensic accounting. It absolutely is. Yeah, it's the perfect starting point for forensic accounting. And but you'd have to do further accounting beyond this after that. How many exams are there in A-level accounting? There are 2 exams, both are 3 hours long. It is about it is it better to do university? If you're saying is it better to do university as opposed to apprenticeship, it depends. If again, if you know what you want to do and you want that is accounting, then you don't have to go to university. You would join straight up with an accounting firm and train yourself as an accountant. If you're unsure of what to do and want to keep your options open, then you can go university, get a degree, and that still allows you to become an accountant even if your degree is in sociology. What other jobs can you get with A-level apart from being an accountant? Well, if you're looking to go into jobs straight after A-levels, then A-level accounting is just like any A-level. It gives you a baseline qualification that tells your future employer that you are a capable person who can pick up and learn any job. So more or less, it helps you sort of get into most general jobs. Obviously, it doesn't qualify you to do something specific like medicine, but other than that, it's just like any A-level. It gives you a baseline foundational qualification for general jobs as well. Okay, I think perhaps we'll need to end things there. Sorry, it's been a bit of a rush, and I think there was some IT issues at the start trying to get logged on, but I hope I've been able to answer the main questions that you've had. Let's have a look if there's any more. The English is GCSE is a requirement because of the requirement that there's now written questions in accounting. Then there's 2 3-hour exams. So hopefully I've answered that last question as well. Okay. Okay. So thank you for that. And I will sort of leave so that you can join any further sessions that you are intending to visit. Okay. Thank you very much.